Hello, everyone. Welcome to an APH Access Academy. We are so glad to have you with us today. Feel free to say hi in the chat as we get going. Today is Trip Up or Step Up, Navigating Social Conversational Cues. Wonder who you've been busy talking to lately. Hello, everyone. Welcome to an APH Excel Academy. We are glad to have you with us today. I see some familiar names in the chat. Welcome, welcome. Today is Trip Up or Step Up, Navigating Social Conversation Cues. And today we have the wonderful Corina Lopes. Hello, Corina. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. Hi, everybody.
I am going to turn this crew over to you.
Thank you, Leanne. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Corina Lopes, as Leanne so kindly shared. So today we are going to be looking at navigating our social conversational cues. I'm saying trip up or step up because these cues, if we catch them or if we deliver them, can help us navigate conversations smoothly, whether it's the first time you're ever talking with someone, or if it's the 50th conversation that you're having with someone. Or if you don't catch them, or if you do not provide some of them, it can create a little miscommunication, a little awkwardness, and nobody likes feeling awkward. But remember, if you do feel a little awkward, that's just learning opportunities happening, so don't even sweat it. All right, let's step up and into this presentation. So, why do we communicate with one another? Let's think about that. Why do we communicate with each other? One reason, to share information. But another big reason, and the biggest reason that we are so communicative, is we like to share with each other. We are primates. We are social mammals. And this sharing is often called empathy. So I'm going to say it again. One of the biggest reasons that we engage in social communication is to engage in empathy. Do you know what empathy means? If you know what that means, type Y in the chat box or N for no in the chat box. So the question is, do you know what empathy means? Y for yes, N for no. I'm going to stop the presentation a second to go look in our chats. Okay, Donnie and Zach do not know what empathy means, and that's okay. Many people do not. So I'm going to share my screen again. And we will answer that question. Empathy means the ability to understand a person's perspective or their emotions. So let's say that one more time. Empathy means the ability to understand somebody else's perspective or their emotions. Empathy is not sympathy. Sympathy means that you know what someone is feeling or thinking because you have experienced that yourself. So for example, you might have empathy for your friend who is going to go get a vaccine. They're saying, oh, I'm feeling nervous, I'm feeling scared, I don't like going to the doctor, I don't like needles. You can understand that this is a reason to be nervous. But if you never had a vaccine before, you cannot have sympathy because you never experienced it yourself. but you can have empathy because you have been in situations where you're facing something that is nerve-wracking or scary to you. Empathy is not always a perspective in the negatives. You have empathy that are perspectives in the positive. Like, let's say someone won an award. Your friend won an award in their math class. They're the best mathematician in the entire school. You may not have won such an award, but you know what it feels like to be recognized for something good, to win something. So you are excited for your friend. You understand why they're feeling happy and why they are expressing that happiness. So that's empathy. Okay, so we know that the biggest bulk of our communication is to share with other people our perspectives and their perspectives, our emotions and their emotions. How do we talk about these things, though? That's what we need to get into. We convey or share emotions with various cues. Some of those cues, many of those cues are contextual. Contextual means the information surrounding an event. So that can be facial cues or expressions, facial expressions. Someone's angry, they might be putting their eyebrows together, right? Getting red in the face. It can be the context of all the words that have been happening within a conversation. But it can also be audio, so the voice. And actually, there is one Yale study that has found that vocal cues are the most effective when it comes to communicating emotions. So for example, how can that be, right? For example, let's say you asked me, "How are you doing today, Corina? It's a sunny, beautiful day." And I responded, "It's okay." Did you hear how my voice did not match with the word okay? Okay is normally positive, but my voice was a little flatter, a little slower, a little down maybe. That's a cue that my word okay may not exactly convey its meaning, but convey my emotion, which does not match the meaning. This is a little confusing. Don't worry. We're going to be practicing and working through it. So let's go back to the main types of cues that are naturally communicated. Exclamation, questions, humor and sarcasm, and social norms. So again, there are 4 types of emotional cues conveyed in natural communication. The first one, or one of them, is exclamation. Another, questions. Another, humor and sarcasm. And a 4th, social norms. Okay, let's move on. Exclamation. What is exclamation? It's also, you can hear it as exclamatory statement. What is that? Do you know what that means when I say exclamation? Type Y for yes in the comments and for no. And if you are joining us after this has been recorded, think, do you know what exclamation or exclamatory means? What could that be? Let me stop the share and go look at the comments. Okay, we have a few of you who are not so sure. So let's discuss. An exclamatory statement or an exclamation is something used to express excitement. So excitement, exclamation. Did you see how they match together? It's used to express surprise or maybe even fear or danger. And all have the exclamation point at the end. So some examples of this might include help, fire, right? That's expressing fear and imminent danger, even surprise, because you're not expecting to see the fire and you're calling for help in a very animated and urgent way. Another example includes, I can't believe I won those concert tickets. I'm excited that I won something so awesome, like a concert. And let's say something good happens. Another exclamatory sentence could be, this is awesome. Do you hear the excitement, the surprise, the joy in my voice? So those three examples demonstrate surprise, excitement, over exuberance. Some might express danger, urgency, fear, but there's a real energy behind an exclamation or an exclamatory statement. So now that I've given you some examples, let's practice some exclamation statements or exclamatory remarks. How can we identify exclamatory remarks when we're listening to people? If we're reading, we're given the clue because we see the exclamation point at the end. But if we're listening, how do we know that someone is expressing overexuberance of a positive or negative emotion? So, when someone is making an exclamatory remark, you may hear some or all of the following, and we're going to be talking about the actual physicality of the voice, okay? I'm giving you 4 things to listen for. You may not hear all 4 of them. You may only hear 1. You might hear 2. You might hear 3. But usually there's a combination of all these 4 happening. Okay, so our exclamation remark physio audio cues would be a higher pitched voice. When I gave the example of the concert tickets, I won the concert tickets! My voice is higher than when I'm normally speaking, in my normal speaking voice. You might hear a breathiness in between the words. This happens, excuse me, because physiologically the person is so excited or so animated that they're breathing a lot more shallowly. So there's not enough deep air coming in. The heartbeat is racing, okay? So it's an actual physiological response to our own hormones and our own physical response to the world. We might have faster speaking. The breathiness and the faster speaking kind of go hand in hand. You can have curt or enunciated sounds and syllables. This often happens more on the urgent and danger level of exclamation remarks. So, stop, stay right there, police. Okay, there is more emphasis in the voice and every word is enunciated a lot more clearly. The consonants might come out more sharply, okay? So again, you might not have all 4 happen at the same time, but there's usually a combination. And so that's how you can know that someone is expressing some sort of excitement or exuberance or urgency in a message. Okay. Are we feeling comfortable with our exclamatory remarks? Do you want to practice a couple more? Type Y for yes, you do want to practice a couple more. Type N for no, you do not want to practice and you want to move on. If you are watching this at a later point, you can decide if you want to practice this with somebody else with you in the moment or later on. So do you want to keep practicing? Y for yes, N for no. I'm going to check in the chats to see what you decide. Okay. Good to hear that you're safe and well, Donnie. Okay. Donnie would like to practice more. Zach would like to practice more, and Monica would like to practice more. We can do that, and we will. And Mike would like to practice more. Okay, we will do that. Let me just get us back to our base screen here so we can have reference back to what some exclamatory remark giveaways or tells might be. So here is one with maybe some faster speaking or breathiness. I'm going to count down from 3 and then I will give you the example. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. My mom got me a new car. I repeated, oh my gosh, several times. The oh sound and the sh was making it it was mimicking my breathiness. I was scrunching the words together. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Deep breath. My body finally needed a breath. Oh my gosh. Another breath. My mom. So I used consonants that I had to enunciate. My mom got me a new car. The word that I was most excited about, the element of the information I wanted to share with you that I was most excited about, I emphasized the most because I lengthened it. Okay. My voice was also higher pitched than my regular speaking voice right now. The reason we have higher pitch, the reason we have breathiness, the reason we might have faster speaking, especially in happy, excited exclamatory remarks, is because, again, our voice is responding to the physiological happenings in our body. We're pumped, literally. The blood is pumping. Our hormones are pumping. So that is why. All right, let us do one more exclamatory remark example. Okay. And then we're going to break down the ones that I used. If you touch that one more time, I swear I'm going to throw out all of your toys. Can you tell that I'm a mom? What happened there? I used an emphatic tone. If you touch that one more time, my consonants were very sharp, very clear. I was enunciating them. I was enunciating my words because I wanted the message to be very clear to my child that they could not touch that again or they would lose all their toys. I did not want room for misinterpretation. And so I made sure that that happened not only by the words I was saying, but how I was saying those words. Are we feeling a little better with our exclamatory remark cues, the audio cues? Type Y for yes, we are, N for no. Again, if you're feeling like we can move on to questions, type Y, yes, N, no. You at home, if you need to pause and practice some more, please do so. Let's check in the chats. All right. Oh, Donnie, you're running with the Corina yell. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't tend to yell too often, not angry voice anyway. Okay. We're going to move on to questions. So, questions. They're kind of the cousins to exclamation remarks. There are two types of questions. Excuse me, I'll repeat that. I had a frog in my throat. There are two types of questions. You have the interrogative question and the rhetorical question. So our two types, interrogative, rhetorical. What is an interrogative question? An interrogative question is a question where the speaker who is asking that question expects you to answer. So for example, an interrogative question could be, "Hi, Mom, what are we having for dinner tonight?" You genuinely want to know, what are we having for dinner tonight? You expect Mom or whomever you're asking to answer. A rhetorical question is a question where the speaker is not expecting an answer. And you might be thinking, that's a little pointless. Why do we have rhetorical questions? I'll tell you. Rhetorical questions are used for when the speaker wants to emphasize a point or draw the listener's attention. Sometimes they can be humorous, and sometimes these questions can be serious. So for example, a rhetorical question could be, let's say we're in this large setting, in this public setting, and I might ask, have you ever felt scared in asking a question before? And I might say, this question is rhetorical. Meaning, I want you to think about a time that you were scared to ask a question, but I don't want you to share the answer because it might be too personal and I don't want to embarrass you. Do you see how that works? We're going to be practicing the rhetorical questions as we move to the next slide. So if you don't understand right now, that's okay. We're going to work through it. Ready? Here we go. Practice questions, interrogative and rhetorical. So first of all, we have to talk about, just like with our exclamatory remarks, have their own physio-audio tells or cues of when someone is voicing an exclamatory remark. The same thing happens with questions, both interrogative and rhetorical. In the English language, so English speakers, but in many other cultures as well, but in English, they are characteristically recognized by the upward inflection. Now that's a lot of big words, so let's break it down. So generally speaking, questions, the giveaway that someone is asking this question is that you will hear an inflection in their voice. What is an inflection? Let's think about that. What's an inflection? It's something to do with the voice. What is an inflection? Okay. I've given you a second to think. An inflection is, you can think of it as a vocal accent, okay? Not regional accents like somebody from the South or somebody from New York or Boston, but an accent in the tones, in the musicality of our voices. So an upward inflection means that at a certain point in the question, a person will tone their voice up. Some people might tone their voices down, and that's why you just learn individual cues, how different people inflect, and you'll learn the pattern. But for the most part, we have upward accents at the end of our questions in the English language. So I'm going to repeat that again. For the most part, we have upward sounding tones or inflections towards the end of our questions. This is not the only way to recognize a question. Words like how, where, when, why, who, those are big giveaways of a question. Okay, if you have those 5 words, how, when, where, why, who, even how come, those are usually, if they're at the start, those are usually letting you know that someone is going to begin to say a question. So we're going back to our interrogative question. What's for dinner? What's for dinner? Did you hear me say I accented the first part of dinner? Let's say it again. What's for dinner? Da-da. What's for dinner? Da-da-da-da. There was upward inflection. Let's try another interrogative question, which means I'm expecting an answer from you. You don't have to type it. I'm just telling you what interrogative means. I'm reminding you. Do you think it will rain? Do you think it will rain? Do you think it will rain? I'm emphasizing the last word rain by kind of just tilting it up a little in my tone. Do you think it will rain? Da 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 da. It's almost like it's dangling off a cliff. It's holding on to something. Da. Rhetorical question. All right, so rhetorical, these are the questions used to emphasize a point or to draw someone's attention. Let's say we're taking a science class together and you have already taken the quiz. I have not taken the quiz. And I might ask you an interrogative question. Was the quiz hard? Did you hear me inflect the hard part? Was the quiz hard? You might say, is rain wet? You inflict it as well. Is rain wet? Meaning, of course rain is wet. That's the biggest definition of rain. Rain is water falling from the sky. So that was a question in the kind of humorous way to say, of course the quiz was hard. Langston Hughes, and I apologize, I misspelled his first name. I'm missing the T there. Langston Hughes is a famous American poet and one of the principal founders of the Harlem Renaissance movement back in the early 1900s, mid 1900s. And he wrote a poem What happens to a dream deferred? And it's a poem all with rhetorical questions. So this is the most famous line, and let's listen for that inflection, okay? What happens to a dream deferred? I'm going to say it again. What happens to a dream deferred? Did you hear me inflect upwards in the word deferred when I was asking that question? I'm going to say that line in a statement, so not a question, so we can try and contrast the difference. I'll say it as a statement, and then I will say it as a question. Okay. What happens to a dream deferred? Did you hear how all of my words were rather flat or level, I should say? They were level. Let's do it as a statement one more time. What happens to a dream deferred? They were very level. Each word in that sentence was level. Now I'm going to state it as a question, as it has been written. What happens to a dream deferred? Do you hear the cadence, the inflections? What happens to a dream deferred? I'm lilting up at the end of deferred. Okay, do we want to practice a few more question inflections, whether interrogative or rhetorical? Do we want to? If so, type Y for yes, N for no. If you are watching this at a later point, certainly please listen for different questions and practice A, if it's interrogative, and B, if it is, if you can hear the inflection. So I'm gonna stop the share. We're going to look at our chat. Okay, Donnie would like to practice one more time. So we're gonna do, I've got a couple more people as well. Okay, that is fine. And that's what we are going to do. So we'll get back to our screen so we can have our reference if we need. So I am going to, so let's practice together. And let's see if you can identify if it's interrogative or rhetorical. And if you can hear the inflection, okay? So, where did you leave the keys? Where did you leave the keys? Where did you leave the keys? Was this interrogative? Type Y for yes, N for no. Again, where did you leave the keys? Type Y for yes if it's interrogative, N for no if it is not interrogative. Interrogative meaning I want an answer to that question. Let's check. Zach says yes. Donnie says yes. Very good, guys. It was interrogative. All right. Okay. So we do have to move on to a couple more slides, but I hope that you hear that in questions, people will lilt or tip up. Some people might tip down, but some tipping will happen at the end of a question. It's just a natural rhythm that we English speakers have been taught to do. And there is nothing wrong if you can't tell if the question is rhetorical or if someone wants an answer. ask back. Excuse me, did you want me to answer that aloud? No one will ever get mad at you for seeking clarity. You are always 110% better off for asking a question, seeking clarity, than just sitting in ignorance. Because that creates frustration and miscommunication for everyone. So when in doubt, ask and practice your lilt. Okay, moving on. Humor and sarcasm. All right, everyone knows humor. All right, humor is the act of expressing amusement or comedy. And humor can be really great, and people use it when they want to diffuse a tense situation. How many times have you been in a tough conversation with somebody, or you've been in a room where things have been tense, and somebody says something kind of funny, or even does something funny, and everyone starts to laugh? That kind of breaks the tension, doesn't it? The heaviness kind of lifts a little bit. When we're laughing, our mind is better able to be creative. And when we're more creative, we're better able to have more empathy for another perspective, for another viewpoint. So humor has great value. And you don't have to be a world famous comedian, just something to lighten the mood, if and when appropriate, is always good. The second, a subcategory of humor, is sarcasm. Sarcasm, the definition of sarcasm, is a type of ironic humor. What does that mean? What does ironic humor mean? Well, ironic humor is when you're pointing out the flaws or foolishness in a situation or person. So let's say that one more time. Sarcasm is a type of ironic humor that points out the flaws or the foolishness in a situation or a person. But you've got to be careful with sarcasm. If it is not done correctly, it can be very offensive or very hurtful. So I, for one, don't enjoy, excuse me, using sarcasm often, unless it's making fun of myself. I think if it's kind of teasing myself and letting everyone know that I can laugh about myself, then that's when I use it. It's pretty safe. But I, as a rule, personally, never like to use sarcasm directed towards other people. But that's just me. And I'm not saying that you can't, and there are others who do not use it effectively. But when in doubt, use this rule that I have always lived by and that I teach my own children and other students. A good joke and good teasing is the joke that everyone can laugh at, right? A good joke, good teasing is the type of joke or teasing that everyone can laugh at, including the person who is kindly being teased. All right, but we use a lot of sarcasm. There is a lot of sarcasm in the world. So let's look at some examples. I have given you two examples. One that is pointing out maybe the silliness of an individual. So the first one says, "Did you think of that all on your own, genius?" All right. So they're using the word genius here to actually convey that the person wasn't being smart at all. Did you think of that all on your own, genius? Meaning, wow, that answer or that response or that idea was so obvious that even the least intelligent person could have figured that out. Okay, so that one is a snarky, kind of maybe mean-spirited sarcasm. If I'm with my best friend or my sister, the second one, maybe it's a little less, it's a little more jovial, I should say. So our second example could be a little kinder depending on the context. If I'm with my close friends, they probably won't get hurt. If it's with a stranger, it's not something I would do. So I'm going to say it now. Gee, 1990 called. They want their fanny packs back. You know what I mean when I'm talking about the fanny pack? It's like that little purse that you wear around your waist. Okay, big in the 90s. So again, 1990 called. They want their fanny packs back. If I saw my sister wearing that, it would be my comical way of saying, whoa, blast from the past. Don't know if it's quite so stylish today. I would feel comfortable saying that with my sister in a teasing way, in a sarcastic, teasing, light way. I would not feel comfortable saying that to a woman walking down the street whom I've never met before. Or I would not feel comfortable saying that to my boss or a colleague that I have just met. So humor and sarcasm is about greater context. It's about your relationships with the individuals. How comfortable are you in teasing and being teased by them? And timing and setting, right? At a funeral, I probably would not be making comedic or sarcastic remarks, or at a hospital when a nurse or doctor is trying to explain to me a procedure that I'm going to be undergoing, right? But at a baseball game or at a barbecue or at dinner time with my friends, sure, more humor, more sarcasm. So I would ask if you want to practice more of this, except that I'm not the best person to practice sarcasm or even humor with. I tend to be a little more reserved. However, I will direct you to go listen to different comedians with family, with friends, and help them and have them help you understand the type of humor that is going on. Maybe you're going to listen to a favorite podcast or a movie or television show, a comedy that has humor and sarcasm in abundance. Okay. And work as a team or as a pair to figure out, okay, is this just situational humor, or is this person being sarcastic? And is it light, jovial, happy sarcasm? Or is it sarcasm that's pointing out something deeper and a little more upsetting in this situation? Now we're going to move on to our fourth and final social cue to navigate conversations. And this is called, or what I'm calling, social norms. So our fourth one, social norms. What are social norms? Did you hear that question? That was a good question because I did inflection at the end. Ready? I'll say it one more time. What are social norms? These are the generally unspoken rules of behavior that a group or society agrees upon and implements. So one more time. Social norms are the unspoken, usually the unspoken rules of behavior that a group or society implements in order to keep order and safety and peace. So some examples of social norms include introducing yourself with your first and your last name. If it is the first time that you are being introduced to a group or that you are entering a group, whether by Zoom, by phone, by email, by text, you say, "Hi, my name is first name, last name. It's a pleasure to meet you." Or, "Hi, my name is Corina Lopes. Thanks for having me. Thanks for inviting me." By giving your first and last name, it could avoid confusion if there are other people with your first name. And it lets people know that you respect yourself. And therefore, they will in turn give some respect to you. If you show up at a party or in a situation where you are also bringing someone else along, you have to be the one to introduce the other person. So for example, if I were bringing my sister to this session and she were with me, I would have introduced us the following way. "Hi, my name is Corina Lopes. I will be your instructor for today. This is my sister, Janina Herbert. She will be listening in." Okay? It gives everyone an understanding of that person's role and how they will be relating to everyone there. It's just the nice thing to do. Use please and thank you in conversation. Saying please, saying your thank yous, okay? Saying excuse me when you have to interrupt someone. All of those things. It's like the social grease that massages you into conversation without causing friction or problems. So say please, say thank you, say excuse me. All of those things will again earn you respect. They will help you get clarification on things. They will earn you friends. And lastly, offer a gracious goodbye or exit from a conversation. If you were talking to me and sharing something, your feelings, your thoughts, your opinions, and I just abruptly turned around and left without telling you, that would leave a bad taste in your mouth. You would at least be confused, if not offended or hurt. So something like, "Thank you for sharing that. I do have to go. Let's continue this another time," would be a great goodbye. When you're on the phone and a person's done talking and you're done talking, you don't just hang up. You just say, "Okay, that was great. We'll talk next time. Bye." Something that lets the other person know that this conversation is ending, confirming that you heard and understood what they're trying to say, and that there will be a follow-up. That's all people want at the end of the day, to know that their thoughts and their opinions matter. And if we can implement social norms like pleases, thank yous, good introductions, good goodbyes, then that will be confirmed and they are more willing to listen and respond to you in turn. Up here are the works cited to some of the things I mentioned, including Langston Hughes' Harlem and the study from Yale about voice communication and empathy for your further review if you are interested. I am going to give my goodbyes now, and I want to thank you all for allowing me to discuss this topic today and for all of your conversation and input, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you so much, Corinna. Now, all of you, if you are going to join us tomorrow, tomorrow's topic is Dress for Success Part 2. So now that you can talk for success, get ready to dress for success. We hope to see you all there. So thank you, Corinna, for a wonderful lesson. Thank you, folks, for joining us. Thank you, Robin, Jeff, and our closed captioning. Thank you so very much. Have a great afternoon, everyone.